Hey friends, happy Saturday, April 1st. For those who work regular work weeks, I hope that this can be a time of rest and recreation. I'm Father Bill Hill, priest at Holy Spirit Catholic Community in Rock Springs, Wyoming. I will give you a reflection on the daily readings. The daily readings are linked down below. When I'm done, click the link, read the readings prayerfully, even 2-3 times, then turn off the screen. Spend some time with God before you move on to other things. I think that the readings are pretty rich today. Certainly I'm going to spend a little bit of extra time praying into them. We have a prophecy from Ezekiel the prophet and from John's Gospel. 2 parish announcements. If you're catching this early on Saturday, we are doing a retreat day today, starting with 9 a.m. Mass over at Our Lady of Sorrows, and then going over to the parish center and just having a few talks, a bit of time to reflect and pray and share. We'll be done at 2, moving towards parish reconciliation, if you're interested in that. But if you're catching this early on Saturday and you are looking for a little spiritual shot in the arm, come and join us. And then the other piece is the Sacrament of Reconciliation. We're doing a community penance service Tuesday night at 6 p.m. at Our Lady of Sorrows. Other priests from the deanery will be here, and we would love to proclaim God's mercy over you. All right. Let's start with John's Gospel and then maybe do Ezekiel and then come back to John's Gospel. We hear a little bit of the working of the Sanhedrin, the Council of the Elders, and the High Priest Caiaphas. And you can, I hope, really appreciate the dilemma that the Jewish leadership have. They're like, if we leave this Jesus unchecked, he's going to continue to stir up challenges. And that's going to agitate the Romans. And then the Romans are really going to come down hard on us. And it's not just going to affect the followers of Jesus, but it's going to affect everybody. And so isn't it better to just deal with this Jesus, and then we can continue to kind of manage relationship with the Romans, and a whole bunch of people aren't going to die. That's basically what he is saying. And so it's like a very, cynical, calculated take, right? Like a human person is a problem, therefore we will kill this human person or cause him to be exposed to the Romans to be killed. And then, it's the death of one that saves the many, sort of a thing. John records this, though, saying, boy, God was working surprisingly through Caiaphas the high priest. And this was not just a cynical explanation, but this was a prophecy, that the one dying would save the many. And so we're about midway through the prophecy in John, or the passage in John. And so this is what John is writing. He did not say this on his own, but since he was high priest for that year, he prophesied that Jesus was going to die for the nation. And not only for the nation, but also to gather into one the dispersed children of God. And so from that day, the Jewish authorities decided to try to kill Jesus. It's the gathering into one, okay? And then read the Ezekiel prophecy. And the Ezekiel prophecy is incredibly beautiful and tender about God gathering the nation onto the land. And finally, they're going to have good leadership. And so they're going to have one king and one prince. And he's going to be blessed like David was. They're not going to be split into 2 kingdoms, but they're going to be one people. They're not going to be going off after these, gods of Canaan, but they are going to be worshiping the one God of Israel, and God is going to bless them because they are going to be one. I just invite you to read the prophecy of Ezekiel and to maybe spend a moment and ask, just what are the deep desires of your heart? The yearning that still exists there for unity, for peace, for being settled, for leadership, for worship, for knowledge of God. What is it that's a deep desire in your heart? And connect that to God through that passage from Ezekiel. And just coming back to John's Gospel. Maybe I've said what I have to say in relation to John's Gospel, but especially just gathering together Jesus, who brings, his followers into that oneness with the Father. And especially if we are able to cultivate a bit of that union with God through Jesus, the inconvenient one, the one who is cast out because he is becoming a problem, and to just allow that to be our preparation for Holy Week that starts, this evening and tomorrow with Palm Sunday. All right, friends, read those readings prayerfully. Turn off the screen, spend some time with God. Many blessings to you as we start this Holy Week journey. Let's be praying for folks that are having a hard time. God bless.